The New Orleans Saints are 4-2 after their win on Monday Night Football, but they've got some work to do. We're also going to take a look at which teams we're ready to count out already early on in the season. And of course, it's Tuesday, which means we got all the information you need for your waiver wires with our fantasy forum here on another episode of Locked On NFL.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On NFL podcast. It is Tuesday here on the Locked On NFL podcast, which means you got me, Luke Braun, at Luke Braun NFL, here with Ross Jackson at Ross Jackson NOLA. We're talking about Monday Night Football. We're talking about some teams I think we can safely eliminate. And of course, we've got a little bit of fantasy advice for you too, because it's Tuesday, it's waivers day. You need that advice, so we got you covered all throughout there. But first, I guess let's talk about Monday Night Football. Kind of a stinker on ESPN. Between the Saints and Seahawks. Final score 13-10. Rainy, sloppy game, which kind of excuses some of the ineptitude, but not all of the ineptitude. I mean, there's a lot of existential questions about the Seahawks that come in after this game, but I kind of want to start with you. It's your Saints. How are we supposed to feel about these guys?
Yeah, well, look, we appreciate everybody for always making us their first listen every day here on Locked On NFL, because I get to get this off my chest so quickly, so early on in the day. So I appreciate you for giving me this outlet. Listen, the New Orleans Saints are 4-2, but it's really hard to believe in them right now. Look, if you're a football fan that loves defense, if you're a football fan that loves a star running back, then that's great. The New Orleans Saints are your team. But in today's modern era of football, you have to be able to throw the ball. And so far, the New Orleans Saints have not proven that they can consistently do that. And it's not the quarterback's fault. The New Orleans Saints need help. Jameis Winston, Alvin Kamara, these guys need help at the wide receiver position. And Luke, I know Michael Thomas is expected to be on his way back within the next few weeks, but that's a very general and open timeline. No one knows what's really going on with the guy. And so with all of that, I don't even know that getting Michael Thomas back, who hasn't practiced for you since January and who hasn't been healthy for you since the beginning of last season, week 1 of the 2020 season, that he's really going to be enough. The Saints are maybe going to have to go and do some shopping at the trade deadline, because they need some help on the offensive side and need to be able to move the ball through the air. They can't do it consistently enough with the options that they have right now.
Across the field, there was an even bigger disaster, which was this Seahawks offense. The Seahawks had, they only scored 10 points in this game, right? And they're dealing with a backup quarterback. They got Geno Smith. It was rainy. That's the thing. But like, look, you got to play football in the elements. It's like integral to the spirit of the game. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, and especially in like your home conditions, your home stadium, like
it's supposed to be advantage
like they were out of their element. Yeah, exactly.
It's Seattle. It rains there sometimes. And like, so those excuses will only take you so far. And while, Geno Smith wasn't great and we don't expect him to be great, the Seahawks have problems that I don't think Russell Wilson solves. And I think a big problem they had wasn't necessarily the frequency of the runs, though that was egregious. But add on top of that, the ineptitude of that running game. So many slashing defensive linemen and linebackers and stuff, and credit to the Saints. The Saints front absolutely kicked ass. And when you want to be that Pete Carroll physical, hard mouth, or smash mouth team, you can't get your ass kicked like that up front. Seahawks are 2-5 now. You're getting to a situation, how many more losses can you afford to take and still be, taken seriously in early to mid-January, one more loss, 2 more losses, right. 3 more losses. I mean, we got months left to go, and they've got to pull off like an insane streak to turn this season around. I just don't see a future for this Seahawks. I didn't see a future for the Seahawks team week 1, and I feel emboldened by just how many games they've just kind of not shown up to.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, credit to the New Orleans Saints defense. If there was the one thing that went right outside of Alvin Kamara, it was the defense. 5 sacks in this game. They let the big 84-yard touchdown go to DK Metcalf early on, but then only allowed 83 receiving yards on 11 receptions after that as well. And that, has
just
as much to do with,
Marcus Williams trying to make tackles on the sideline. It's not great. I'm just saying. I just want to bring that up.
I know you want to bring it up, and I I grant you the opportunity to bring it up, but I wish that the guy could be known for more than just one play because he's been phenomenal all season.
He's fantastic.
The guy makes one play that's like kind of like a play that happened 4 years ago, and everyone's like, "Oh, get him off the team!" And stuff. It's incredible.
No,
it's
and
incredible.
he had like a good game, like on the whole
did,
too.
of course,
but I got to
of
do
course.
it. I'm
Yeah,
obligated.
of course you have
contractually.
to. Of course you have to. Yeah, it's in the contract.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where it's like I thought that the Saints defense really showed up and did what they had to do, but this is not a league where you can fully lean on the defense right now. You have to be able to have some of that passing offense there. And for both of these teams, neither of it had available to them. The difference is that one of them was dealing with a backup quarterback, and the other one is dealing with the guy that is your heir apparent after your Hall of Fame quarterback. So in any situation, you have to be able to see either one of these teams be able to find a way to improve. Seattle has the talent at the receiver position. New Orleans doesn't. Seattle didn't have the talent at the quarterback position. New Orleans did, and they both ended up producing the same kind of inefficient play in the passing game.
The same kind of plotting attack that didn't really go anywhere, and we end up just kind of sleeping for an hour as this game ends 13-10. But the Saints now kind of they ascend, they get 4 wins, the Seahawks fall away. The NFC kind of has a few teams that are we're gonna go with teams we can't really believe in, and I want to get to eliminating some, and we're gonna get to the Tuesday Fantasy Forum in just a little bit as well.
Yes, and before we get to that, we do want to tell you about our friends over at getupside.com. Luke, I don't know about you. I've been driving a lot more recently now that things are kind of like opening back up and all that other stuff, and we're seeing people. We just had the wedding, so we just drove all over the place with all of that. And I am, thank you so much. And a grateful little wedding gift came from me from Get Upside because I got my first cash out from them and made quite a bit of money back and quite a bit of cash back from filling up my car. So here's the way the the Get Upside app works. Basically, you download the app. It's free. You get it from the Apple App Store or Google Play, whatever it is that you use. And then you have it on your phone, and they have sort of select gas stations that you can go to, and you get 25 cents back per gallon on your fill up. And actually, if you download the app right now and use the promo code touchdown, they're going to give you 50 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. So it's really, really dope. But there are people that drive a ton, use this app a lot, which is free, and they get $200, $300 back per month. You can get it back to your bank account. You can get it back to for you on PayPal, or you can do Amazon gift card, which is what I did, and other brands that they have available as well. So once again, go and check them out. Super awesome. Get Upside app. Get 25 cents back per gallon on your fill-ups at select gas stations. Download it in your App Store or Google Play. Don't forget to use the promo code touchdown as well to get that little bonus on your first fill-up with the Get Upside app.
All right, Ross, I'm ready for some violence. Let's cut some teams. Let's get rid of them. Okay, so here's the deal. We are now far enough into the season. We're not even at the halfway point here. So there's lots of time for everybody to turn everything around. Nobody's mathematically eliminated, but some of these teams are eliminated. And we could sit here and crow about the Jaguars and the Jets and the Lions and all these teams that we kind of knew, and they're, 1-0 win teams or whatever, but that's boring. Sure. I want to talk about some teams that could turn it around. Like record-wise, they've got plenty of opportunity to. Maybe they've got 3 wins. Maybe they've got, they're closer to 500. But they're cooked. They're done. We're leaving them in the dust, and you don't have to watch a game. I'm starting with the Seattle Seahawks for all the reasons that I mentioned before. But let's maybe throw a new team in the mix here. Let's stay in the NFC West and talk about, are we doing this to the 49ers? Are we ready to give up on them? Because right now, there's all sorts of stats going around about how Kyle Shanahan currently has about the same win record as Chip Kelly did in the NFL. He's well under 500. It's been poor. He's dealt with a lot of QB injuries and stuff. But at a certain point, when are the wins supposed to come with this supposed offensive genius and all this stuff? I don't know. Right. What do you think, Ross? Are we cooking them? Are we eliminating the San Francisco 49ers?
I think I'm very close to it. San Francisco 49ers right now 2-4, and we have to take into account the division that they're in. Like you mentioned, no team is mathematically eliminated at this time, but I think I might
games
vote,
out first.
Yeah, but I
4.5.
think I might vote to eliminate the San Francisco 49ers because of the fact that you're in a division right now that has the only undefeated team right now with a 7-0 Arizona Cardinals team, which looks absolutely phenomenal, and then a 6-1 Los Angeles Rams team that has also looked phenomenal. I think both the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers might be done for.
So I'm not quite with you on done for entirely on the 49ers. They ain't winning the West. You're right. There's the Rams and Cardinals. That's going to be the battle. That's going to be the West. But here's the deal. 7 teams in the NFC. The NFC is pretty top heavy. You've got Rams, Cardinals, the Packers, the Bucks, and the Cowboys. And everybody else is kind of stinky. So there's a chance to sneak into the 7th seed. And once you're in, anything can happen, right? So I'm not ready to put them to bed yet because I think a turnaround can happen when Trey Lance gets healthy again. If Trey Lance is ready to go, and if he is able to start to use some of that arm talent, some of the talent with his legs, and create a dynamic offense, which is what these 49ers are missing, I think we can start to see a similar effect to what happened with Sean McVay when he went from Jared Goff to Matt Stafford. Get a real quarterback in there, and suddenly these offensive genius guys have a little something to play with, and it can work out. So I think a turnaround might be in the cards for them. Speaking of runaround guys with a crazy arm, what about the other team from the 2019 Super Bowl, which is reeling? We got to talk about the Chiefs. Are they in trouble?
Please have an actual conversation about the Chiefs.
Are they going to be okay?
I think the Chiefs are in trouble. Am I ready to call are they left for dead? No, I don't think so. They are still the Kansas City Chiefs. This is still Patrick Mahomes. This is still Andy Reid. This is still a very, very talented team that has talent all over it. But I think that the days of having this really, kind of subpar defense and an offense that's going to carry you past everything, it's kind of the reverse of what we were talking about opening the show with the New Orleans Saints, who have this really fantastic defense, but not enough production over on the offensive side, particularly through the air in a modern offense, that you kind of have to have a balance of all of these things in order to be a successful team. You look at, let's say, the Los Angeles Rams, the Arizona Cardinals. They have a balance on both sides of the ball. I think that right now, the Kansas City Chiefs lack that over on the defensive side, but also have been a little inept over on the offensive side. We've seen bad throws, bad decisions being made by Patrick Mahomes, who now has, I believe it's 16 interceptions in 16 games and has thrown an interception in every game that he's played so far this season. He got, reeled upside the head at some point during Sunday's game. I mean, there have been a lot of things that have just been going wrong for this team. But if there's any team that I look at and say, okay, they have an opportunity to really bounce back with what they already have on the roster, if they can get a little bit more comfortable on the defensive side, I'm not ready to count the Chiefs out just yet, but I'm not afraid to say that they're in trouble.
They're definitely in trouble because, again, they're in a division. I mean, the Raiders and Chargers are lapping the field in the West right now, in the NFC West. I'm not eliminating them either because we've seen how elite the Chiefs can be. I say with the 49ers, gosh, they're going to have to go on such a crazy win streak. Well, we've seen the Chiefs do a win streak like that, right? We've seen them win, lose twice in a season, right? So I think they have that in them, but that defense has to get fixed. And here's the problem with that defense. Right now, Steve Spagnuolo is operating with hubris. He is way too comfortable and he's way too confident in his players. He's asking them, guys like Mike Hughes to cover one-on-one. He doesn't have that in him. Trust me. We saw this in Minnesota.
Seen it up close.
And he's still kind of blitzing more than I think he can get away with. He has to take a bitter pill and start running softer coverages, more too high coverages, maybe get run on a little bit more, put a little bit more of the game in, Chris Jones and Frank Clark, and a little bit less of the game on your corners and Daniel Sorensen. And then Patrick Mahomes can take over from there. I think Patrick Mahomes has been a little unlucky. And I think that's inflating a lot of those interception stats and stuff. So I think there might be a turnaround in there. But there's two kinds of turnaround. And I want to go back to the NFC for the next kind. You start off 3-0, you drop 4 in a row. You just got blown out by the Giants, and you benched your quarterback, who was supposed to be the future of your franchise, who was sold as the future of the franchise. Whether or not anybody bought that is on them. But let's talk about the Panthers and Sam Darnold, PJ Walker. What's going on? Are these guys cooked? Or do they have any chance to pull this season out of the depths?
I think Carolina might be done. I really do. And I'm not just saying that because they're in the NFC South and I cover the Saints. I know the way that people are going to read that, but we've seen this from Carolina before. Carolina had, it's where they opened up, slow last season. They had 3 straight wins and they went on this losing streak after that. We've seen this over and over again with Carolina. And I'm sorry, but Sam Darnold, if you bought into Sam Darnold, I'm sorry that you were lied to, and I'm sorry that they hurt you again. So I think for Carolina, I just don't see the formula that's there for them to be actual contenders and to be winners. So I think they're done. I think they're cooked.
Sam Darnold is in year 4. If he didn't have it now, he ain't getting it. He ain't getting it in the middle of the season. So your best chance is PJ Walker, who was in the XFL 2 years ago. That's the best chance for the Panthers. Their once vaunted defense just let Daniel Jones cook them, and a Giants offense that if you listen to Patricia on Locked On Giants, they were having their own whole host of problems, but now the Panthers have become the get right team, and even if they can pull out of it, now they've lost a game to the Vikings. That's going to be a pretty big tiebreaker. They might end up needing the tiebreaker with the Saints, so they're going to have to go win that game. They're going to have to not split that series. They do have a win against the Saints. That'll help. But it's going to be really hard for them to turn it around because I just don't think they have the dudes.
Yeah, it's tough. And this was, of course, a New York Giants offense that was missing so many key pieces on the offensive side. And even Julian before that game tweeted out, the Carolina Panthers have to win this game. And they couldn't pull it out. They couldn't figure out a way to get it done. Couldn't even get close. The Carolina Panthers, as well as several other teams, we might be ruling out. You might not be ruling them out. But before we end up ruling out any of your fantasy teams, I've already kind of ruled mine out, if I'm being completely honest. We're going to be checking in with Kate Majuk here in a little bit to try to get these things going up again here in just a moment. But I do want to talk about, however you feel about certain teams that are out there, whether you're feeling good about them, not feeling good about them, betonline.ag has something for you to be able to get in on the action. Maybe make those games a little bit more fun again. I can tell you that the Monday Night Football game was a little bit more fun for me because I actually had money on it. So I think that if I didn't, maybe it might not have been as fun to watch. So if you want to get in on the action, go and check out betonline.ag. You can do individual bets on things like over, under, line, stuff like that. Or if you want to, you can pull together a bunch of different games for a parlay, try to maximize and multiply your way to a big cash savings or a big cash winnings, even if you're just betting on the favorite. So go and check them out over at betonline.ag. They got you covered for everything that you're looking for in the MLB as well, the NBA, which is now underway, MMA, UFC, and even your favorite Vegas casino games as well. And when you're there, don't forget to use the promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, so you can get a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. It's over at BetOnline, where the game begins. And you can also check out our friends over at rockauto.com. Parking spots, I am convinced, are just getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and more of them are being put in between poles. And I'm having a particularly challenging time with that as a truck driver myself. And so I just the other day had to go on to rockauto.com, and by the other day, I mean today, as I arrived home from my honeymoon, and had to buy a new wheel well wall, which is a thing that exists. And I had to buy one because I hit a pole that actually peeled my wheel well wall off of my car. So I had to get that replaced. Rock Auto, though, easy. Like $20. It's on the way with new clips. So it just pops right back into my truck and I never have to acknowledge that anything went wrong ever again. So that's what I love about rockauto.com. If you've got something you've been meaning to work on that you need to work on, or if you're anticipating hitting a pole in the future, make sure that you've got rockauto.com bookmarked so that you can get all the parts, pieces, and accessories that you need, no matter what make, model, or year your vehicle may be. And don't forget to let them know that Locked On sent you, and Locked On in the How'd You Hear About Us section. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, and all the parts your car will ever need at rockauto.com. All right, everybody, it is Tuesday here on Locked On NFL, so that means it is time for the Fantasy Forum, as we do every Tuesday. This week, we're joined by Kate Majuk of the Locked On Dynasty Football podcast on Twitter at FFBallBlast. Kate, we had a very, very exciting weekend of NFL football. I want to talk about some of the big standout performances from this weekend. Who really stood out to you this week?
I mean, we can't, I said this before we even hopped on here, we got to give the automatic yeehaw for Jamar Chase.
Yeehaw! That's what I'm talking about.
Giddy up, baby. Like, this is Jamar Chase's world. We are just living in it at this point, and we are in for a pretty freaking fantastic wild ride. I'm so excited to see this kid be so productive. I'm so excited to see him back with Joe Burrow. Looks fantastic. He's literally a record-breaking wide receiver, doing more in 7 weeks in the season than any other rookie in NFL history. Like, this dude's just absolutely fantastic. All the credit in the world to Jamar Chase, who we accused of not being able to catch a football just 7 short weeks ago. He's come so far.
I love it. And one of the things that I really love about watching Jamar Chase and as a fantasy owner of Jamar Chase is his ability to be able to score, not just on deep balls, but we've seen him now take slants to the house and sort of run through tackles and be able to create after the catch. I imagine that's exactly what you're looking for in a receiver when it comes to fantasy value.
Oh, absolutely. You want a guy that basically the ball ends up in his hands and he makes a play. And that's what he's been doing for years and years. And that's why we loved him so much at LSU. That's why, I think you have to give him a lot of credit for where the Bengals are at this point in the season, at this point leading the AFC North. I mean, like,
sole ownership. Yeah.
Incredible stuff. And on the other side of that, I want to give a shout out to Joe Burrow, who had a fantastic game, led all quarterbacks in passing yards in week 7. At least so far, we're recording this ahead of Monday Night Football, but finished the day with 416 passing yards,
Don't
3
count out
touchdowns. Dude, you can. That's the thing. If we were talking about any other quarterback, I could pretty safely say this, but it's Jameis, so I can never count him out. But had 3 touchdowns, 1 interception on the day. He's looking more comfortable. He's looking. He's just showcasing that connection. And I'm so happy to see, not as a Steelers fan, this is killing me,
Sure.
But the Bengals are having a lot of success and they're really fun to watch. I want all of the Cincinnati Bengals on my fantasy team.
For real.
Yeah, it feels like we have, with the Bengals and the kind of the surprise that they've been, nobody had them this high on their rankings or anything and being this hot. And it feels like we have a couple of players who are really, really like outperforming their draft position at the beginning of the year. What other surprises do we get this week that are guys that maybe we should start to rethink how we think about them, like rethink our perception of them? Jamar Chase is down every week, start your stud kind of guy. He didn't start the season out that way, as no rookie does. Who else are we maybe like recalibrating about because of what they did this week?
I think another guy that I want to give some kudos to is Tua Tagovailoa. 291 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So he's not playing perfect football by any stretch of the imagination, but he's another guy that I think improved a lot in terms of his passer rating on the week. We saw him actually work pretty well with the volume that he had. He had 40 pass attempts this week. I just think, kudos to him. He's playing pretty well under not so ideal circumstances. Like, we've talked about this endlessly. Feel like we've had this conversation already so many times. The Deshaun Watson rumors to Miami, it says, Miami's the only place he wants to go. He has a no trade clause, so he has to approve the move. Mm-hmm. And Miami is the place that he wants to go to. So he's, essentially still playing as a rookie. He hasn't even played a full season of games where he started and finished. And I think he's carrying himself really well. I think we're seeing him blossom a little bit as we move into the season. I'm excited to see what he can do with a fully healthy wide receiver core.
Yeah, I feel like Tua continues to get lost in these conversations around Miami quarterbacks. He had the whole sort of back and forth between he and Ryan Fitzpatrick, even though they very openly supported one another last season. Now, he finally gets an opportunity. He gets hurt. There's Jacoby Brissett, but now there's all this conversation going on about Deshaun Watson. And Tua's just going out there and playing football, which you have to admire the guy for all of the sort of ancillary spotlight that's on him for going out there and still making plays on a Sunday.
Yeah, it's hard when you're 1-6 too.
Yeah,
it's,
for real.
It's hard to kind of get any attention when you've kind of fallen away from like the contention of the season. And they were supposed to contend. They were supposed to be a team that was going blow for blow with the Buffalo Bills. When we previewed the AFC East on this here show. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about waivers though. Who you got this week for the desperate among us?
Oh, there's so many of us sit among the
Everybody
desperate.
Who tore our rosters apart during Biomageddon, and now we need to reconstruct them.
We need to rebuild. I think my biggest waiver wire priority this week has to be Kenny Gainwell. He's available. He's just rostered in 26% of ESPN leagues. He's probably available in your league right now, unless you're one of those spry fantasy players who got him a little bit earlier. He has looked fantastic in the receiving game. Miles Sanders suffered what I believe is a low ankle sprain. So I do think Kenny Gainwell could, be the guy for the Eagles, at least for the foreseeable future, maybe for a week or two. But he's a guy that's been productive on limited touches to begin with. I think the upcoming matchups, I'll take all of it. Give me Kenny Gainwell, especially in a PPR format. Another guy that I want to give some kudos to, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Look, somebody's got to catch the ball somebody's got to catch the ball. Like I think that we can do worse for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Again, this is like a volume play in a full PPR format. Clearly Jared Goff, he needs a target outside of TJ Hawkinson, outside of DeAndre Swift. I think that we can see a bounce back, hopefully in the weeks to come, but he's a guy that I think could shine, as the season goes on. He's a rookie. As he gains more chemistry, as he gets more familiar with the playbook, he's somebody that I want to keep my eye on moving forward. I really, I think there's potential there for maybe a second half breakout.
Especially with a rookie, somebody coming in, starting out slow their first year. I mean, I just saw this intimately with Justin Jefferson last year. He started off a little slower and then he came way, way, way on as the year went on. It's a long season and it's tough to transition. So all of that makes sense. Kate, thank you so much for giving us the time, giving us some waiver advice and all that. You can find Kate Majuk at FFBallBlast on Twitter and on the Locked On Dynasty Football podcast. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me on.
So on this show, maybe we got ahead of ourselves a little bit by talking about playoff seeding and position in October, but the trade deadline is right around the corner. So don't miss our live NFL trade deadline show. Reaction to every move, plus a second half NFL season preview and much, much more. Catch the show live from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, November 2nd on the Locked On NFL YouTube page. Thank you so much for making Locked On NFL your first listen of the day. Tomorrow on the show, you've got Tony and James taking you through the power rankings on Wednesday, maybe previewing Thursday Night Football a little bit. So we will see you all then here on the Locked On NFL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.